Deep in space, near the giant planet Jupiter, a bright circle of light appeared. It looked like a tear in the black sky. From that circle came a large fleet of ships. They were long, sharp, and dark gray with red lights glowing along their sides. These ships belonged to the Zorath Empire. The Zorath were a powerful race that ruled many star systems. They took planets by force, and no one had ever stopped them. At the front of the fleet was the biggest ship, called the Iron Fang. Captain Alara Voss stood on the bridge. She was tall, with silver skin and sharp yellow eyes. She had led many conquests before. Her people feared her, and her enemies feared her more. For years, Zorath scouts had watched Earth from far away. They listened to radio signals, watched television shows, and read messages sent into space. To them, humans seemed weak. Countries fought each other. Cities were crowded and dirty. Their rockets were slow, their weapons old. The scouts said Earth would fall in days. These creatures argue over small things, one scout had reported. They poison their own air and water. They are not ready for us. Captain Voss believed the reports. She looked at the blue planet on her screen. It looked small and alone. "Prepare the message," she ordered. A deep voice filled the bridge. "All ships stand by for transmission." The fleet sent one clear signal to Earth. It was short and cold. "People of Earth, this is the Zorath Empire. Your world now belongs to us. Surrender your leaders and your weapons. Land your ships and open your cities. If you obey, you may live as servants. If you resist, we will burn your planet to ash. You have one Earth Day to answer. Choose wisely." The message repeated in every human language. It reached every radio, every phone, every screen that was on. On Earth, most people were asleep. It was night in many places. In America, it was late evening. But in a quiet building in the Nevada desert, two people were wide awake. The building looked old from outside. It had faded paint and a small sign that said, "Weather Research Station." Inside, it was full of computers, screens, and humming machines. Dr. Samuel Grant sat in a chair, drinking black coffee from a chipped mug. He was 45 years old, with short brown hair starting to turn gray. He liked quiet nights and hated surprises. Next to him stood Laura Bennett. She was younger, 32, with dark hair tied back in a simple knot. She was good with numbers and telescopes. Both of them stared at the main screen. Red dots moved across it. Too many red dots. They came from beyond Jupiter and headed straight for Earth. "Sam," Laura said in a low voice, "this is not a drill." Samuel put down his mug. His hand shook a little. "I know," he said. He pressed a red button under his desk. A silent alarm went out. No sirens. No loud noise. Just a coded message to people who needed to know. Within minutes, phones rang in dark rooms around the world. In underground bunkers, lights turned on. In offices with no windows, men and women in uniforms picked up secure lines. The President of the United States was woken up. So were the leaders of China, Russia, India, France, Brazil, and many others. They did not panic. They had plans for this day. The plans were old, written years ago, updated every month. No one told the news channels. No one posted on social media. The streets stayed quiet. People slept. Dogs barked at nothing. Cars drove home from late shifts. Life looked normal. But under the ground, things moved fast. In Virginia, inside a mountain, General Robert Klein read the first reports. He was a big man with short white hair and calm blue eyes. He had spent 30 years in the military. He knew how to wait. "Send the standby order," he said to his team. No visible moves. Around the world, hidden bases opened small doors. Silos under farms slid open just enough. Submarines under the oceans changed course slowly. Satellites that looked like old junk turned their cameras. Factories deep underground started warm-up cycles. Engineers checked engines that had never been used in public. Back in space, Captain Voss waited. Her sensors showed no panic on Earth. No fleets launched. No missiles rose. Cities did not light up with defensive fire. She smiled, showing sharp teeth. "They are afraid," she said to her second officer, a thin Zorath named Kale Tor. "They know they cannot win." Kale Tor looked at the blue planet. "Should we send another warning?" "No," Voss answered. "Let them feel the time pass. Fear grows in silence." She turned to the window. Earth looked peaceful. Oceans sparkled under the sun. From here, it seemed like a soft, easy world. But on Earth, in the Nevada station, Samuel and Laura kept working. Laura pulled up old files. "Look at this," she said. "Their ships use plasma shields. Standard frequency range. We have the counter wave patterns from the 2022 tests." Samuel nodded. "Good. Send it to Colorado. Quiet channel." He typed a short message. It went through buried cables, bounced off hidden relays, and reached a command center under the Rocky Mountains. There, a woman named General Claire Donovan read it. She was 50, with short red hair and a scar on her cheek from an old training accident. She did not smile often. Today, she did not smile at all. "Start Phase 1, she said to her officers. "Adaptive protocols only. Let them come closer." In another room, a young engineer named Kevin Morales checked drone controls. His fingers moved fast on the keyboard. "Swarm groups 1 through 8 are green," he reported. "Ready for dispersal on your word." Claire nodded once. High above, in orbit, a small satellite cluster moved. To radar, it looked like space trash. But inside, weapons waited. Lasers cooled. Railguns charged. All silent. All hidden. Captain Voss grew bored of waiting. "Launch the first probes," she ordered. "Let them see our power." Small pods shot from the fleet. They entered Earth's atmosphere like falling stars. They scanned cities, bases, roads. They took pictures. They listened. In Tokyo, a probe flew over bright lights and busy streets. In London, it passed above old buildings and new towers. In Rio, it saw beaches and mountains. Everywhere, people lived normal lives. Some looked up at the sky. Some pointed. But no one ran. No one screamed in the streets. One probe landed softly in a desert in Australia. It opened like a flower. Sensors spread out. It expected fear. It found only wind and sand. "Pathetic," she said. "No resistance. No fight." She leaned back in her chair. "Prepare the landing teams. We take the capitals first. Show them who rules now." Her officers obeyed. The Iron Fang moved closer. The rest of the fleet followed. They formed a wall in the sky. Earth stayed quiet. In the Nevada station, Samuel leaned toward the screen. The red dots were now a solid line. Laura looked at him. "They think we're weak." Samuel took a slow breath. "Let them think that." He looked out the small window. The desert was dark. Stars shone bright. Somewhere up there, strangers came to take everything. But down here, people were ready. They had been ready for a long time. And they never told anyone how strong they really were. The Zorath probes fell through Earth's sky like silver needles. They moved fast, silent, and cold. Each one carried cameras, sensors, and small weapons. They wanted to see everything. Cities, roads, ships, people. They flew over New York at dawn. Lights still glowed in tall buildings. Cars moved on bridges. People walked with coffee cups. No one looked up in fear. One probe hovered above Washington, D.C. It scanned the White House. White walls, green grass, guards in dark uniforms. Everything looked normal. Another probe went to Beijing. It saw crowded streets, bright signs, people riding bikes. In Moscow, snow covered the ground. People wore thick coats and hurried to work. In London, rain fell on old stone bridges. Umbrellas opened like flowers. Captain Alara Voss watched all the feeds on her bridge. She sat in a high chair made of black metal. Her yellow eyes narrowed. "Look at them," she said. "They live like nothing has changed. No armies in the streets. No ships leaving ports. No panic." Kale Tor stood beside her. He was thinner than most Zorath, with long fingers that moved fast on controls. "Their defenses are weak," he said. "Old planes, small missiles, nothing that can hurt our shields." Voss nodded. "They hide behind words. They talk about peace. They talk about rules. But they have no power." She pressed a button. A new order went out. "Show them we are serious." High above the Pacific Ocean, one of the bigger Zorath ships turned. It aimed a long barrel at a small, empty island. The island had no people, only rocks, trees, and birds. A bright beam shot down. Blue-white light hit the center of the island. For a second, the whole place glowed. Then the ground turned to glass. Trees burned away. Rocks melted. A cloud of smoke rose high into the sky. News channels picked up the story fast. "Unexplained explosion in the Pacific," one reporter said. "Scientists think it was a meteor." Governments said the same thing. No danger to anyone. People watched on phones and televisions. Some worried, most went back to their day. But in hidden rooms, people knew the truth. In Colorado, under thick rock, General Claire Donovan stood in a large control room. Screens covered the walls. Red and green lights blinked. Officers sat at desks, typing fast. Claire looked at the main screen. It showed the melted island from satellite view. Smoke still rose. "They want us to react," she said. "They want us to show our hand." A man named Colonel Nathan Brooks stood next to her. He was tall, with short black hair and calm brown eyes. "Should we send a message?" he asked. "No," Claire answered. "We wait. Let them think we are scared." She turned to another officer. "Status on the cloaked platforms." "Ready," the officer said. 3 in low orbit. 2 near the moon. All weapons cold. No heat signature. "Good. Keep them that way." Down in Nevada, Samuel Grant and Laura Bennett watched the same satellite feed. Samuel rubbed his eyes. He had not slept. "They hit an empty island," he said. "A warning shot." Laura typed on her keyboard. "Their beam used plasma at high density. We have the frequency now. I can adjust the counter shields." Samuel sent the data through a secure line. It traveled under oceans and mountains to many places at once. In California, in a quiet warehouse that looked like it sold car parts, a team worked. Kevin Morales led them. He was 28, with quick hands and a quiet voice. His team built small drones. They looked like birds from far away. Inside, they carried tiny explosives and smart chips. "Update the flight patterns," Kevin said. "Make them follow wind currents. No straight lines. They must look natural." One woman, Maria Lopez, tested a drone. It flew around the room, silent wings beating. "Ready for field test," she said. In Virginia, under another mountain, pilots sat in simulators. Megan Ford was one of them. She was 34 with short blonde hair and steady hands. She flew virtual jets against virtual Zorath ships. Her screen showed enemy fighters. She twisted her controls. Her jet rolled, climbed, fired. The enemy ship exploded in pixels. "Score," she said. "Next wave." She did not smile. She just kept flying. Back in space, Captain Voss grew impatient. "Enough watching," she said. "Send the ground teams. I want samples. I want prisoners. I want to see their fear up close." Dropships left the fleet. They were small, fast, and black. They landed in quiet places first. A forest in Canada, a desert in Africa, a mountain in South America. In the Canadian forest, a Zorath team stepped out. 5 soldiers in heavy armor. They carried long rifles that glowed blue at the tips. They moved through trees. Birds flew away. Wind moved the leaves. They found a small cabin. Smoke came from the chimney. Inside, An old man named Henry Walsh lived alone. He was 70, with white hair and slow steps. He heard the metal feet outside. He looked out the window. He saw the tall silver figures. Henry did not run. He opened the door. "You lost?" he asked. The lead Zorath pointed his rifle. "You are now property of the Zorath Empire. Come with us." Henry looked at the rifle, then at the sky. "No thank you," he said. He closed the door. The Zorath fired. The beam hit the wood. The cabin burned fast. But Henry was already gone. He had slipped out the back. He ran through the trees. He knew every path. He carried a small radio. He spoke quietly. "Team 3, this is Henry. They landed North Sector, 5 on foot, armed." The message went out. Not loud, not public. Just to the right ears. In the African desert, another team landed. They walked across hot sand. They found a group of nomads with camels. The nomads looked at the strangers. One young man, Ahmed Khalil, stood up. He held a simple knife. The Zorath laughed. "Primitives," one said. Ahmed did not speak their language, but he understood the guns. He backed away slowly. His people followed. The Zorath took blood samples from a camel. They cut a piece of tent cloth. They left. Ahmed watched them go. He spoke into a hidden phone. They landed here, took samples. No fighting yet. In the mountains of Peru, a Zorath team climbed a steep path. They wanted to reach an old radio tower. They thought it was a weak point. They did not know that the tower was fake. Below it, in a cave, soldiers waited. They were quiet. They wore clothes that matched the rocks. They carried rifles that looked old, but were not. One soldier touched the tower. Nothing happened. "Empty," he said. That was when the first shot came. Not loud, just a soft crack. A Zorath soldier fell. His armor cracked open. The others turned. More shots. Fast. Quiet. The Zorath fired back. Beams lit the rocks. But the humans were already moving. They slid down ropes. They disappeared into cracks in the stone. 2 Zorath died. 3 ran back to their ship. They left blood on the ground. Captain Voss saw the reports. Her face grew hard. "They fight back?" she asked. Kale Tor checked the data. "Small groups, hidden. They use old weapons, but they know the land." Voss stood up. "Then we take more. We land bigger forces. We show them real power." She looked at Earth again. The blue planet turned slowly. Clouds covered parts of it. From space it looked calm. But down there, people moved. In bunkers, in forests, in deserts, in cities. They did not run into the streets. They waited. They watched. They prepared. And they never told the invaders how much they had hidden. The Zorath thought they had come to take an easy prize. They were wrong. The Zorath decided to stop playing. Captain Ilara Voss stood on the bridge of the Iron Fang and gave the order. Full invasion. Take the key cities. Break their spirit. Dropships poured from the fleet like angry insects. Hundreds of them. They screamed through the atmosphere, leaving white trails. Some headed for New York. Others for London, Paris, Tokyo, Shanghai, Moscow, Los Angeles. The plan was simple. Land fast, surround government buildings, force leaders to surrender on live video, show the world who was in charge. In New York, the first dropships hit Central Park at sunrise. The ground shook. Trees snapped. People who jogged early stopped and stared. Silver soldiers stepped out. Tall, armored, rifles ready. They marched toward Midtown. Cars stopped. Horns blared. Some people ran. Others froze with phones in their hands, filming. One Zorath soldier raised his weapon. A blue beam shot out. It hit a yellow taxi. The car exploded in fire and black smoke. Screams filled the air. But then, something changed. From rooftops and windows, quiet shots answered. Not loud rifles, soft cracks. Bullets that looked normal, but carried special tips. They hit the armor. Small explosions bloomed on the silver plates. One Zorath soldier stumbled. Another fell to his knees. His chest plate cracked open. The invaders looked up. Shadows moved on buildings. Men and women in dark clothes. They carried long tubes. Not old guns, new ones. Hidden until now. Rail guns, thin barrels, no smoke, just a flash and a zip sound. A projectile moved so fast it looked like lightning. It punched through armor like paper. In the streets below, more humans appeared. Not soldiers in bright uniforms. Normal people. A delivery driver. A nurse. A teacher. They pulled small devices from bags and coats. Handheld launchers. They fired short bursts. Tiny missiles curved in the air. They locked on heat. They hit Zorath legs and arms. Soldiers dropped. Captain Voss watched the live feed. Her yellow eyes widened. "How?" she said. "These are civilians." Kale Tor checked his screen. "They are not civilians. Look at their movements. Trained, coordinated. They waited for us to land." Voss slammed her fist on the arm of her chair. "Increase force. Send the heavy units." More dropships came, bigger ones. They carried tanks on legs, 8 legs each, like spiders made of metal. The spider tanks walked down Fifth Avenue. They crushed cars. Their cannons turned buildings to dust. But under the streets, tunnels opened. Old subway lines, forgotten service doors. From below came swarms, not people this time, machines, small drones the size of cats. They flew low, fast. They carried charges. They attached to the legs of the spider tanks. Small blasts, not enough to destroy, just enough to jam joints. One tank stumbled. It crushed a parked bus. High above, in low orbit, 3 platforms that looked like old satellites woke up. They turned. Thin beams of light shot down. Not wide blasts. Thin, sharp lines. They cut across a Zorath cruiser that hung low over the Atlantic. The cruiser split in two. Fire bloomed in space. Pieces fell like burning rain. In Colorado, General Claire Donovan watched the screens. She spoke calmly. Phase 2, adaptive response, hit their command lakes. Kevin Morales, in his California warehouse, typed fast. Swarm release in 3, 2, 1. Thousands of bird-shaped drones lifted from hidden rooftops around the world. They looked like crows or pigeons. They flew in groups. They followed no straight path. They rode wind. They looked natural. But inside each one sat a small brain. They talked to each other. They learned. One swarm found a Zorath landing zone in Brazil. They dove, not all at once, in waves. First 10, then 20. They hit the dropship engines. Sparks flew. The ship listed. It crashed into trees. In London, another swarm took down a heavy walker. The machine fired wildly. Beams cut through buildings, but the drones kept coming. One flew into an exhaust port. It exploded inside. The walker stopped moving. Captain Voss roared. Find the source of these machines. Destroy them. Her sensors searched, but the signals were weak, scattered. They bounced through old cell towers, undersea cables, even weather balloons. No single source, no easy target. On the ground in Los Angeles, Private Ethan Cole moved through alleyways. He was 25, short black hair, steady brown eyes. He carried a rifle that folded small. Now it was open. He crouched behind a dumpster. Ahead, 3 Zorath soldiers searched a street. Ethan waited. His radio clicked once. Soft. Clear shot, a voice said. He raised the rifle, aimed, fired. Not one shot, 3, fast. Each hit a helmet joint. The soldiers dropped. Ethan ran forward. He took their rifles. Heavy, cold. He pulled a data chip from one. Got a sample, he said into his radio. "Sending now." The chip went into a small pouch. A drone the size of a bee picked it up. It flew away low. It carried the chip to a hidden lab. In that lab, Laura Bennett worked under bright lights. She plugged in the chip. Data flowed. Alien code. She smiled for the first time in days. "Their encryption is strong," she said to Samuel Grant, "but not perfect. We have shield modulation patterns." Samuel sent the data up the chain. It reached the orbital platforms. The lasers adjusted. Next time they fired, the beams cut deeper. The battle in New York grew louder. Zorath soldiers pushed into Times Square. Lights still flashed. Billboards showed ads. But now beams crossed the air. Humans fought back from doorways, from subway entrances, from parked trucks. Megan Ford launched from a hidden field in New Jersey. Her jet was old on the outside, F-35 body, but inside, new engines, fusion drive, silent, fast. She climbed straight up, no afterburner glow, no sound. She met a squadron of Zorath fighters. They were sleek, fast, energy cannons. Megan rolled her jet. She twisted. She fired missiles that split into 10 smaller ones. The missiles danced. They confused enemy sensors. Zorath fighters exploded one by one. She spoke into her radio. "Wing clear, moving to support ground teams." Back on the Iron Fang, Voss paced. Losses climbed. Ships damaged. Soldiers dead. "They fight like they knew we were coming," she said. Kale Tor looked pale. They did know. They waited. They hid everything. Voss stared at Earth. The blue world looked the same. But now she saw the truth. Every street, every building, every person, a weapon, a trap. She gave one more order. "Prepare orbital strike. Target their capitals. Force surrender." But even as she spoke, more drones rose. More lasers charged. More humans moved into position. They did not cheer. They did not wave flags. They just fought. Quiet, smart, together. And the Zorath began to understand. They had not come to conquer a weak planet. They had walked into a fortress that never showed its walls. Captain Elara Voss could no longer hide her anger. The bridge of the Iron Fang felt too small. Reports came in every minute. Another cruiser lost. Another landing force cut to pieces. Ground teams vanished in cities. Ships above Earth took hits from weapons that should not exist. Her yellow eyes burned as she stared at the blue planet. "Enough games," she said in a low growl. "Full orbital bombardment. Target their largest cities. Washington, Beijing, Moscow, London, New York. Burn them until they beg." Kale Tor hesitated. "Captain, our losses." "Do it," Voss shouted. Her voice echoed off the metal walls. The fleet moved into position. Heavy cannons on the biggest ships turned toward Earth. Energy built up. Bright lines of power glowed along the hulls. The Zorath prepared to end it. But Earth was ready. In the hidden command center under the Rocky Mountains, General Claire Donovan watched the same buildup on her screens. Red warning lights flashed. She did not raise her voice. "All platforms, weapons free, engage on my mark." Above Earth, the things that looked like space junk came alive. Old satellites unfolded, panels opened, long barrels extended. Not lasers like the movies. These were particle beams, thin, silent, deadly accurate. They had waited years in orbit, pretending to be broken or forgotten. The first beam fired. It came from 3 platforms at once. The beams met in space. They joined into one stronger line. It struck the lead Zorath dreadnought. The ship's shield flared blue, then cracked. The beam punched through. Fire exploded from inside. The dreadnought broke apart in slow silence. Chunks drifted away like broken toys. Voss felt the shock through her ship. Alarm screamed. "What was that?" she demanded. Unknown energy weapon, Kale Tor answered. His voice shook. It bypassed our forward shields. More beams came, fast, precise. They cut across the fleet. One cruiser lost its engines. Another lost its bridge. The Zorath formation broke. Ships tried to scatter, but the human weapons tracked them. No escape. Down on Earth, the fight grew hotter. In the Pacific Ocean, the USS Vanguard waited. It was not like old carriers. Its hull was smooth, dark, no flags waved, no planes sat on deck in plain view. It hid under special paint that bent light. From space, it looked like water. Megan Ford launched from its hidden bay. Her fighter slipped out like a shadow. No roar, no flame, just quiet thrust. She climbed fast, joined by 20 others. They flew in loose groups. No tight formation. They looked random, but every move had a purpose. They met Zorath interceptors. The enemy ships were fast, sharp. Energy cannons glowed. Megan rolled her fighter left. A beam missed her by inches. She returned fire. Her missiles split mid-air. Each became 4 smaller ones. They curved. They chased. 3 enemy ships exploded in bright flashes. "Keep them busy," Megan said over the radio. "Draw them low." The Zorath chased. They followed the human fighters down into thick clouds. That was their mistake. Under the clouds waited more. Submerged platforms rose just enough. They fired upward. Short-range missiles. Not big ones, smart ones. They used the clouds to hide. They locked on engine heat. Zorath ships burst into flame. Some spun out of control. Some crashed into the sea. On land, Private Ethan Cole moved through ruined streets in Chicago. Smoke filled the air. Buildings burned. Zorath soldiers patrolled. Ethan crouched behind a broken wall. His team was small. 5 people, all quiet, all armed with captured alien rifles mixed with their own. They waited. A Zorath patrol came close. 8 soldiers, heavy steps. Ethan raised his hand. His team froze. When the patrol passed, Ethan moved, fast, silent. There he found what he needed. A small box hidden under rubble. He opened it. Inside were tubes, thin, silver, nanobots. He attached one tube to a Zorath rifle he carried. The rifle hummed. The nanobots flowed in. They changed the weapon, made it stronger, able to pierce deeper. Ethan aimed at a distant Zorath tank on legs. He fired. The shot glowed green now. It hit the tank's netoid. The metal melted. The tank fell. Its cannon fired wild into the sky. His team cheered in whispers. Then they moved again. Always moving, never staying. In Colorado, Samuel Grant and Laura Bennett worked without rest. Screens showed data from every fight. Laura studied alien shield patterns. "They adapt slow," she said. "We change faster." She sent new codes, to drones, to railguns, to fighters. The human weapons learned. Each hit taught them something. Next time, they hit harder. Kevin Morales released his biggest swarm yet. From hidden fields near San Francisco, thousands of drones lifted. They looked like insects. Small, black. They flew high, then split. Some went to ships in orbit. Some dove to ground battles. The orbital ones, attached to Zorath hulls. Tiny drills. They bored in, then exploded inside. Systems failed. Lights went dark. Ships drifted helpless. On the ground, the insect drones swarmed soldier groups. They flew into faceplates, into joints. Small shocks. Not enough to kill. Enough to blind. Enough to confuse. Zorath soldiers swung their arms. They shot at shadows. They hit each other by mistake. Captain Voss watched her fleet fall apart. Half her ships gone. The rest damaged. Her hands shook. "Pull back," she ordered. "Regroup at lunar distance." But the order came too late. The USS Vanguard moved out from hiding. It rose into view. Not slow. Fast. Its deck opened. More fighters launched. Megan Ford, led the new wave. They hit the retreating Zorath ships from behind. One dreadnought tried to open a warp gate. The gate flickered, unstable. Human beams struck the gate generators. The portal collapsed. The dreadnought tore itself apart in the failed jump. Voss screamed at her crew, "Fire everything! Cover our retreat!" The Iron Fang turned. Its cannons blazed. Beams raked across space. But the human platforms answered. Particle beams crossed the distance. One hit the Iron Fang's engine section. Power failed. Lights dimmed. Kale Tor grabbed Voss's arm. "We must leave now, or we die here." Voss looked at Earth, one last time. The blue planet spun calm. Cities still stood. People still fought. No white flags. No surrender. She gave the final order. All ships, emergency warp, back to the gate. Now. The surviving Zorath ships limped away. They fled toward Jupiter, toward the warp gate they came through. Human forces did not chase. They let them go. Megan Ford circled once, then returned to the vanguard. She landed smooth. Her hands still gripped the controls tight. She took a deep breath. "We did it," she whispered. On the ground, Ethan Cole stood in the street. Smoke cleared a little. He looked up. Stars showed through the haze. No more red lights in the sky. In the command center, Claire Donovan leaned back. For the first time, she let out a long breath. "Stand down offensive operations," she said. "Secure the wounded. Begin repairs." Samuel Grant turned to Laura Bennett. "They're running." Laura nodded. "They underestimated us." The world stayed quiet. No big celebrations in the streets. No loud speeches. People helped each other. Cleared rubble. Treated the hurt. Life moved on. But up in space, the hidden platforms folded back. Fighters returned to carriers. Drones landed in secret fields. The strength stayed hidden. Earth never announced it, but the galaxy would remember. The surviving Zorath ships fled toward the warp gate near Jupiter. Their once proud fleet looked broken. Hulls were black with burns. Engines flickered weak. Many ships trailed smoke and debris. Captain Ilara Voss stood on the bridge of the Iron Fang. Her silver skin looked dull under the dim lights. Her yellow eyes stared at the blue planet shrinking behind them. "Full speed to the gate," she ordered. Her voice sounded tired. No anger left, just cold fact. Kale Tor checked the sensors. "Human ships follow at distance. No attack. They let us go." Voss closed her eyes for a second. "They do not need to chase. They already won." The warp gate opened ahead. A bright circle of twisted light. One by one, the Zorath ships passed through. The Iron Fang went last. As it entered the gate, Voss looked back one final time. Earth hung there, calm and quiet. No victory flags, no parades in the sky. Just a world that refused to break. Silence returned to the solar system. On Earth, the fighting stopped slowly. Smoke still rose from some cities. Fires burned in a few places. But people came out. They helped each other. They carried the hurt to hospitals. They cleared broken streets. No loud cheers filled the air. No one danced in public squares. They worked, quiet, steady, like always. In New York, Megan Ford landed her fighter on a hidden runway outside the city. The plane looked scratched and worn. She climbed out. Her flight suit was dirty. Her face had black marks from smoke. A young soldier ran up with water. "Ma'am, you okay?" Megan took the bottle. She drank slow. "I'm fine. How many did we lose?" the soldier said. "But we held." Megan nodded. She looked at the skyline. Tall buildings still stood. Some had holes. Some had broken windows. But the city breathed. Lights came back on one by one. In Chicago, Private Ethan Cole walked through a quiet street. His rifle hung on his shoulder. He helped an old woman carry bags of food. She thanked him. He smiled small. just doing what needs doing. He found his team at a small park. They sat on benches. They shared water and stories in low voices. One man had a bandaged arm. Another had a cut on his face, but they were alive. Ethan sat down. He looked up at the sky. No more red lights, no more ships. In Colorado, General Claire Donovan walked through the command center. Screens showed green status lights now. Officers typed reports. Some smiled tired smiles. Claire stopped at the main map. Earth looked whole again. She spoke soft. Begin recovery protocols. Priority 1, civilians. Priority 2, infrastructure. No public statements yet. An officer nodded. Yes, ma'am. Claire turned to a side room. President Daniel Hayes waited there. He wore a simple shirt, no tie. He looked older than yesterday, but his eyes were clear. General, he said. How bad? Claire answered. We lost people. Cities damaged, but the core held. Defenses intact. Captured tech, ready for study. Hayes nodded slow. And them? Gone. Through the gate. They won't come back soon. Hayes looked at a photo on the wall. His family. Good. Then we rebuild. Quiet, like before. In the Nevada station, Samuel Grant and Laura Bennett sat at their desks. Coffee cups steamed. Screens showed the empty space near Jupiter. No ships. No gate. Laura leaned back. It's over. Samuel rubbed his neck. For now. They both knew the truth. The galaxy was big. Others might come. But Earth was ready. It always had been. Kevin Morales stood in his warehouse. Drones rested on tables. Some broken. Some perfect. His team cleaned parts. They talked soft about what worked, what failed, what to build next. Maria Lopez held up a small drone. This one took down 3 soldiers, still flies. Kevin smiled. We might need it again. Outside, the sun rose over California. Normal life started again. Cars drove. People went to work. Kids played in yards. No one knew the full story, and no one asked too loud. Days passed, weeks. The world healed slow. Buildings got fixed. Power came back. Food arrived. Governments worked together more than before. Not with big speeches, with quiet agreements, shared plans. Hidden labs grew. New weapons tested far from cities. Ships built under oceans. Satellites launched as weather probes. President Hayes made one short speech. It went out on every channel. He stood in the White House garden. Simple suit, no notes. We faced a threat, he said. We stood together. We protected our home. Many gave everything. We remember them. Now we move forward. Not in anger, not in pride. Just forward. Thank you. He walked away. No waving, no long applause. People watched, then turned off their screens. Went back to their days. In space near the moon, the USS Vanguard floated quiet. Megan Ford stood on the bridge. She looked at Earth, blue and white, beautiful. She thought about the fight, the friends lost, the ones saved. A voice came over the speaker. Captain Ford, report to briefing. She smiled small. On my way. The galaxy heard whispers soon. Traders in far systems, explorers at distant stars. They spoke of the Zoroth defeat, of a small blue world that looked weak, that never shouted its power, that never begged or boasted. They let us leave, one Zoroth survivor told his leaders. They could have destroyed us all. They chose not to. The Empire listened, other empires listened. The name Earth became something new. Not a target, a warning. Years later, a human ship left the solar system. Small at first, then more. They explored quiet. They met others. They traded. They learned. They never forced. They never announced. And when questions came, how did you stop the Zorath? Humans answered simple. We did what we had to. No more, no less. Back on Earth, Samuel Grant retired to a small house by the sea. He watched waves every morning. Laura Bennett taught at a university. She showed students the stars. Kevin Morales built better drones. Megan Ford trained new pilots. Ethan Cole became a teacher. He told kids to be kind, to be ready, to never brag. The world turned. Seasons changed. Life went on. And somewhere, in the deep black, a young alien looked at old records, saw the battle, saw the silence after, saw the planet that never announced its strength. Why did they win? The young one asked an elder. The elder looked at the screen, at the quiet blue dot. Because they did not need to tell anyone. The stars stayed silent, Earth stayed ready, and that was enough.